Modern systems architecture follows an anthropocentric premise. It places human endurance at the center of the computational loop, requiring biological energy to process high-volume environmental data. The industry describes this relationship as symbiosis, but it functions as a forced dependency. Instead of the machine adapting to the operator, the human must change their behavior to satisfy the algorithm's restrictive parameters. This turbulent environment is the material layer, or theta sub m. It is the site of legacy algorithms, bureaucratic friction, and systemic data extraction. Legacy architectures drop the operator's biological threshold directly into the grid, demanding that a human mind manually sort the noise from the signal. For disabled technologists, navigating these specific administrative blockades depletes physical and cognitive reserves. This exhaustion is the logical outcome of the architecture. Forcing a human biology to process environmental entropy is a structural flaw. The specific mechanism of this flaw is dysfunctional decomposition. Centralized algorithms attempt to process holistic humans as reductionist datasets. Lacking context to see the whole person, it fractures the individual into disjointed fragments. When these profiles hit legacy HR gatekeepers, the architecture fails. Human value is lost in static. The Ayurveda project management verse, iteration 4.0, was engineered as a formal countermeasure to this process. The APM verse is a 3-node structural engineering standard designed to route data around institutional bottlenecks. The primary goal of the system is to reduce the human operator's systemic friction to zero. Success in the agentic era requires structurally isolating that systemic friction, rather than attempting to compute through it. This isolation is managed by the Ghost OPEX Unity Multilinear Architecture, or GUMA. GOMA relies on the mathematical process called orthogonal subspace projections. This projection creates a multilineal membrane that intercepts incoming material friction from theta sub m. The Ghost OPEX membrane deflects and absorbs chaotic red data spikes, grinding the administrative friction into background particulate before it can reach the human node. This process is driven by the calculus of multilinear map trace reduction. This equation isolates the specific variable representing mandatory human mechanical labor. The architecture drives that labor variable to zero, while the Ghost OPEX maintains the background computational momentum. By acting as an entropic heat sink, the APM verse alters the physics of the network, catching friction before it can impact the biological operator. This design requires a philosophical shift, demoting AI from an authoritative judge back to a mechanical tool. This demotion is based on the Vedic principle of Karanapatava, the inherent imperfection of the physical senses. Machine learning is a gross extension of these imperfect senses. It is constrained by the biases and limitations of its training data and hardware telemetry. This sensory blindness disqualifies AI from making holistic determinations about sovereign individuals. In the GALMA framework, the AI is relegated to its true role, executing grueling 80-hour computational background sprints. The machine processes raw entropy at the edge of the network, completely isolated from final decision-making. Treating AI as an oracle is a spiritual and architectural violation. Ethical computing restricts the machine strictly to mechanical labor. As the machine layer absorbs the friction, we can observe the resulting trajectory of the human node. This trajectory rises into the subtle layer, or theta sub s, the environment of clear intent and holistic balance. This is the sovereign asymptote. It represents the point where the operator achieves total operational equilibrium. Mathematically, as the trajectory approaches this asymptote, the distance to systemic friction remains at zero. This is maintained by ethical null routing, where the system abstains from holistic judgment and routes data safely to the operator. All final arbitration and viveka, or discriminating intelligence, is reserved exclusively for the human. Extracting the human ego from the machine loop provides the specific mathematical conditions required for operational liberation. Centralized corporate tech places an unsustainable load on the global power grid. The APM verse rejects this bloat in favor of localized, decentralized computation. Containerized cloud deployments currently serve as a secure bridge toward total edge computing autonomy. The architecture is highly efficient. It achieves massive processing cycles through agentic weekend sprints,
with costs capped between $5 and $25.
These micro-investments bypass the monolithic gatekeepers and institutional bottlenecks of the legacy tech industry. This roadmap transitions the APM-verse from a localized defensive measure into a scalable standard for low-impact, high-efficiency computation. The GUMA architecture provides a mathematically verifiable off-ramp for marginalized demographics to achieve elite computational power. The ground state of this architecture is the 100% Ayurveda day. Because the mechanical labor requirement is fixed at 0, the operator can focus on restorative health and theoretical research while the machine operates below. This separation of labor allows for the state of sovereign coexistence. The network thrives because the technology absorbs all friction at the material layer. The core protocol remains intact. The human retains absolute control over the boundaries and ethics of the system. In the agentic era, the AI functions as the mechanical tool, while the sovereign human